Thank you. And thank you so much for staying with us. It's been such a pleasure to be behind the scenes of the Masters Institute. And today, what you have the opportunity to hear is my story. It is how I am a kid at Hope, how I was capable and am capable of success. And there were several people out there that knew that I was one of those, no exceptions. So I was born in Acapulco, Mexico. And I did not repeat 1 year from the time I was in preschool through sixth grade in the same school. My father was an engineer, mechanical electrical engineer, and he traveled around the country installing plants for Pepsi and Coke. Along with that goes a very nice life because in Mexico, you are either living really well or you are involved in a very impoverished situation. We were in a situation of doing really, really well for ourselves. So when I share this with you is because sometimes we feel that we only find our kids that are needing to be hopeful are those with low socioeconomic status, those from minority. And the reality is that all of our students, all of our children, all of our youth are really in a space where they need adults to be their champions. And so here you have one experience that highlights the hope, the believe, the connect, and the time travel. I like that it's a little pixelated. So do we have I think Rick's going to be my clicker from his seat. Look at that. I put him to work. I'm loving it. And so we transitioned to the United States of America because although my dad had a very good job, he could see that the political dynamics were not very, very good in Mexico, and he wanted to give us a better life. So they sacrificed everything for their three girls. And here in this picture, if we go back, maybe I should have somebody else do the job. We have hope, we believe. And so you see me right in between. You see me right in between my mom and my dad. There's my younger sister and my older sister. I was 11 years old when I left a country where I knew the culture, knew the language, and had a lot of family that were my caring adults, my tios and my tias, that were really allowing for me to shape in a way where I knew I would have a really good opportunity. My entire dream was always to be a doctor, a medical doctor initially, and I was very excited later, as you will see, that I accomplished that dream just in a different way. So you see us here, my and my anchor parents were amazing, amazing parents. I lost my dad in 2008, and we lost my mom in 2022. But what we didn't lose was what she brought and what he brought to the table, making us really strong, independent, courageous women. So when I put these two pictures up here is I shared with you that my entire preschool through sixth grade, I did not repeat one grade in the same school. I am here to sadly tell you that I cannot remember one caring adult during those times where I felt that they had my best interest at heart. I was a great student. I wasn't visiting the principal, and so I was the invisible student that they knew that I would get along just fine. I wish that had been different because to my right, and the picture where it says Mr. Unsueta, he was my ESL teacher. I didn't speak the language. It was really hard my very first year. The food didn't taste right. The environment was so different. People eating in a cafeteria was just such a different situation because I used to pack my tortas. Those are yummy sandwiches. And I used to really see life differently. But Mr. Unsueta saw us for what we were, and his strength was building relationships. He would allow us to be late and let us eat the strawberries because during recess, We became low-income family when we transitioned here because my dad was no longer an engineer. He would do whatever job he needed to do to make sure that a family of 5 was where we needed to be. And so Mr. Unsueta knew that those strawberries that the field workers gave us that make us late to 7th period was our treat for the day. And he had one rule and one rule only. If you're bringing strawberries, make sure that I get at least 2. He was an amazing, amazing man. I had the opportunity to really see through a teacher's eyes how you build relationships and how you make a situation really matter when others didn't know. We had another teacher, I'm going to say the name, it's not a joke, don't Google it, and we always want to keep people anonymous, but his name was Mr. Killer. And he would kick my sister out. She was just 1 year older than me all the time because my sister was very hands-on, very, very energetic. And she would kick her out because she wasn't paying attention. And where would she go? Take one guess. To Mr. Unsueta. He would go to Mr. Unsueta because he understood that we needed a little bit more than the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. We needed somebody that understood that we were in a different space and that we were lost. Lost. My first year, although a very smart student, someone that was very committed and understood education because both of my parents valued it, I felt lost and alone. But Mr. Unsueta made sure that we did it differently. So he started to change that path. He also adopted my mom and dad. He was a professor at the community college and was teaching them English as well. Then we had the opportunity to meet Mr. Gil Cuevas and his wife, Angie Cuevas, and they were also amazing to us, bringing us clothes, giving us furniture, and making sure that we had the basic needs. But above all, Mr. Cuevas truly showed me what it meant to believe in someone. And what he did is he took me to this leadership camp, and I was super young. I turned 13 at that leadership camp, and at that point, he shared with me what a natural leader I was and how successful I was going to be and what I was going to need. That was tested very fast. Remember, I got here when I was in 7th grade, went to a different school as an 8th grader, and as a 9th grader in high school, I was already in honor classes because somebody really paid attention to my academic ability. But then what happened in that 9th grade? One of my teachers said to me that I was going to amount to absolutely nothing. And the reason that was said was because I could not match the vocabulary word to its definition. I was still picking up the language. I was excited to be in his class, but he did not have the skill set of a treasure hunter to support someone like me. What did Mr. Cuevas do? Pulled me out of that class immediately because he didn't want that man to ruin me. And he also asked for an apology, and I was too young to understand why that was even happening. But today I'm very grateful that that opportunity was there because it allowed me to see that when adults make mistakes, they have that opportunity to make it different. So Mr. Cuevas continued his journey in making sure that he was one of my caring adults. This went through college, and he was actually at my wedding as well, and we danced. He always put me in awkward spots, including public speaking. And at my wedding, I said, mariachis are here, you're dancing with me. And we really had a good time dancing, and he was just amazing. Both of these gentlemen have passed away, but what they've done for me and others will be with us forever. I also want to share with you that from 9 months in the U.S., I was given an honors award of Student of the Month. Didn't know what it was. It wasn't until later that I realized that it was so important to be selected at that grade level. And there's little me. And later, I was able to earn my doctorate because of the different sacrifices that my parents made and because of those caring adults that were going to make sure that I was not going to fail. And so that's my mom there and my sister and my children. I want to share with you all so that in my career, the gentleman that said I would amount to absolutely nothing was so wrong. So wrong, because there were other people that believed in me and were not going to sidestep in any way, shape, or form. I've had the opportunity to serve our students and our communities and our parents for 29 years as a teacher, assistant principal, principal, assistant superintendent, and most recently as a superintendent. And that has been a true honor and privilege to serve side by side. Most recently, and this is an amazing story because in talking to Rick Miller about what are my next steps, I was in a situation at my previous district where it really didn't allow me to continue my journey as a superintendent. But the dream doesn't end where your last opportunity ended. Dreams continue. For me to be a consultant has always been something that has been there. And so in talking to Rick, very encouraging. Another one of my mentors, I didn't put his picture up here because he's here in person. And he shared with me that what was my next step? What was I going to do next? And so made the choice to work on my consulting business and gave myself the opportunity to now support leaders in making sure that they have the balance that they need to create a culture where adults and children and youth are going to be hopeful and move forward. I also want to share that I am a proud mom of two now adults. My daughter is a dentist, Aaliyah, right in the middle. That is her husband. And my son, right on the right, is a pilot for Southwest Airlines. That is something that for us as parents, both my daughter and my son, really represent not just our sacrifices, but the sacrifices that were made by my parents and my husband's parents as well, because he also came here when he was in third grade, and he'll tell you the story that door will always be D-O-R-E, door. Staying hopeful has not been always an easy task. I am a 2-time cancer survivor, and as such, thank you. And I have to tell you that you find people that believe in you in all spaces. My oncologist, the very first time that I went to him, I wasn't sure how this was all going to fare. It's rectal cancer. And I said to him, what are we going for? I wanted to know my prognosis. And his exact words were the cure. And I thought, okay. So he threw the kitchen sink at me. And then having it once wasn't enough, so a second time comes about, and I go back to him, and I said, now it's the stage 4, and I said, what are we doing? Where are we going with this? And he says, I believe that you can really beat this again, and so we're going for the cure. That was back in 2014, 10 years free. I shared with you the professional hurdles. Politics are everywhere. And one of those hurdles was really not having alignment with the board that I served. And that then gave me the opportunity to allow for that community to continue with the different leader, but not bring myself down because of it. Those are circumstances. It's not who I am, and it's not who I choose to be. So instead of really committing myself into a situation that was not leading to helping kids, communities, or their parents, I committed to open up that space, but still with a great level of hopefulness that allows me to stand here in front of you knowing that I've always done and will continue to do what's right for our kids. And so what today I ask is that it takes hopeful adults to produce hopeful children, youth, and adults. We cannot walk the path of hope if we're not hopeful. And you don't have to be hopeful 100% of the time. There are many people around you that will pick you up. Many times I heard the words, Ibi, you are such a strong person. You are the strongest person I've ever known. Let me share with you that there's been times in my life, especially when I was going through chemo and radiation, that I couldn't see myself in the way that I was being described. But I made the commitment to see myself through other people's eyes. And when someone would say, you're so strong, I would look at them dead in the eye and say, you know, I can't see myself right now, but I'm going to see myself through your eyes. Because if you see me that way and you believe in me, then I will continue to fight. Sometimes I wasn't fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for those that believed in me. So please, I plead that you stay hopeful, that you stay near hopeful people, and that you continue to grow in whatever journey you're in, and don't allow people that are hopeless to bring you down. The Masters is exactly about that. Our ability to really stay connected, our ability to stay hopeful, because that's the way that we pass on hope. Thank you for this opportunity, and it's a pleasure to be a part of these treasure hunters, and I will take you in my heart for a very, very long time. Rick Miller, thank you for everything.